All right, folks, we're live. Welcome to ATS Midweek Live. I'm here with Keith Cowan again, and we're going to dissect, obviously, the Republic of Ireland team. It's been another difficult 10 days for Stephen Kenny and the Republic of Ireland. I was speaking to Keith before we went on. I don't think there's any team that polarises opinion in Ireland like the Republic of Ireland football team. I think with the rugby team, everyone sort of gets in behind them, win or lose. But with the Irish setup, regardless of who the manager is, whether it was Trapattoni, whether it was O'Neill, whether it was McCarthy, and now Stephen Kenny, there just seems to be a real variety of different opinions and perspectives. And as I say, polarises opinion. But Keith, we'll get into it. Obviously, as they say, the stats don't lie. 11 games in, no wins. 4 goals scored, and obviously we were hoping when we done this first preview show before they played Serbia that it would be a good week and the pressure would, we'd get his first win and we'd get up and running in the World Cup qualification campaign. As we know, didn't happen despite a positive display against Serbia. I thought we played really well. We spoke about that and on the live watch along against Dundalk, but disaster against Luxembourg. There's no other way to describe it. What's your view on it? And what's your opinion on the sort of Kenny project 11 games in?
Yeah, well, as you say, Chief, like the stats don't make great reading. 11 games, no wins. It's tough. It's you can see what he's trying to do there. And it's that old one where is it about results? Does he get time then to maybe try and implement his own style on things? The style that the fans, I suppose, are crying out for. Like we watch too much, of the Premier League and Champions League football, and we really want to be entertained. We want to see a good brand of football. But then at the detriment of that, there is if we're missing out on major tournaments, are international football fans happy? And I suppose that's kind of what's seeming to materialise over the last week there with the loss against Serbia, the loss against Luxembourg. I think it just kind of boils down to that's the level that we're at the minute. We all have the great memories of the Jack Charlton era and going to Euro '88 and Italian '90 and '94, USA '94 and all that stuff, and what's come after that. But unfortunately, at the minute, that's where we're at. If we want to try and play attractive football and be less attritional and less hard to beat, I suppose, is the way to look at it, then we might miss out on these tournaments. And you can say, well, we drove it up the park with under O'Neill and that, and we missed out tournaments there as well.
Keith, and Terry, I understand where you're coming from there. I think you're making good points, but some people will say, yeah, I get that, and we don't have the players, and we don't have the quality, we don't have the strength and depth. But Luxembourg, do we still not have enough? Do you think if we were a bit more attritional, as you said, and a little bit more where we're making them defend more because we're playing a more direct style of football, and I'm not advocating for that approach, and I'm not sure you are either, but you're only posing the question, do you think we get the result against Luxembourg? Do we play into Luxembourg's hands a little bit because they're quite technically good? We're looking to play, they're looking to play, and it's a nice game of football. I think are people where they used to hate playing Ireland? Have we fallen into that category now where people are like, we've got a chance of getting a result there? What's your view in the Luxembourg game, particularly? We spoke about Serbia.
I think the Luxembourg game, Chief, I think we took it far too lightly. I think we, looked upon this as the easy game. The Serbia game was going to be a tough game. They rested a number of players against us, and only kind of brought a few lads on near the end when they needed to. I just think we took Luxembourg far too easy. Could you pick someone that played well in that game? Did we get about them? Did we make it uncomfortable for them at all? When you go through the Luxembourg team, look, there's no superstars. But then you go through our team, there's no superstars either. Luxembourg team, they have a couple of lads. I think lad in midfield plays for Mainz in Germany. The guy Rodriguez scored the goal. Plays for Dynamo Kiev. They have a couple of footballers in there that are playing. Yeah. They're not playing in the Premier League. They're not playing in the first division, but they're playing in decent leagues. Tough leagues around Europe. And I just think that took them far too much for granted. As I say, didn't upset them, didn't get about them. Again, when teams come to the Aviva, so the crowd as well can have a part to play.
There's different factors as well. Strange time to play football too.
Yeah, strange. But you can't be using that as an excuse. You have to go and do. It is such a results based. The Qatar game then, like, I don't talk too much about that there because it was a friendly. It was a chance for players to play. He went back to what seemed like the old guard in terms of his team selection. Playing many of the young lads, but then bringing a few on. Look, I'm not an advocate of get Kenny out. I think he's a man for the job of the man. I think he deserves to get a campaign under his belt, a World Cup qualifier, and then I think that it's kind of a bit quick to be like if this is what we're going to go for, if we're going to wait, if we're going to watch, and hopefully bring these young lads through now that are going to play the right way, then I think he has to be back. Like, for me,
I agree with you in terms of like there's playing the right way, and I know what you're saying regarding that, but is playing the right way going to get you results in international football? And do we have the players to play the right way? And I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I was always critical under O'Neill, where I think O'Neill did a great job, but I felt we've got Wes Hoolahan, we've got players that can play. Like, if they're encouraged to play, they can play. But I don't know anything about international football, and those boys got us to a major championship. Trapattoni got us a major championship. So it's all well and good, like you say, play good football, but we're not getting results playing a nice brand of football. And when do we say, right, lads? I do agree, we have to give them to the end of the World Cup qualifying campaign, but I'd have a real concern just about the apathy against Luxembourg and how easy we were to play against. Like, I was looking at it, like, obviously nowhere near ever good enough to play international football, but as a midfielder, so easy, like, out of possession, to play through us and that. But another thing I was thinking, like, we're obviously League Ireland men, like, we love the league, we love the product, we know how good it is, we know how good Stephen Kenny is, but obviously there's enough different opinion in Ireland where unfortunately the majority of people don't rate the League of Ireland. But do you think some of the players as well within the Irish setup, let's be honest about it, like a Robbie Brady goes to England at 16 to Manchester United, is he really tuned into the League of Ireland? And like, is there that thing where they're not having him? Like, I don't know, but there doesn't seem to be, I think the players he's given an opportunity to are doing well, but the other lads, I know you said he turned to the old guard last night, they done quite well, but are they questioning his credentials for the job as well? Because it's a hard one to put your finger on. We should be able to get a result against Luxembourg. I don't know. A lot of comments coming in here, but what do you make of that? Do you think that's a problem where the credential factor could be a problem with some of the majority of players in that squad? They're all been in England since they were 16.
I think
long a few others. Do you think that's a factor now, or might?
Yeah, well, look, that's been well highlighted, Chief, and well documented. And we need to be careful here too, because as you say, we don't know. We haven't played international football, and you have, like, listen to lads like, Richard Dunn was on there during the week, and he's just basically said that they haven't got the players, but then there is that aspect then of, if they're at their club sides over in England or the Championship, and and they're heading off, and some lads are going to play, in the England setup maybe, and they have those conversations. Is the idea of international football as a whole as well is not where it used to be, where it seemed to be lads would head back to their country, they would meet up for a couple of days, they'd have a bit of crack, they'd have a few drinks, they would enjoy that escape. But then that's very much changed, and like the rush to go and play international football now, especially maybe for the Republic for the Republic of Ireland, unfortunately, isn't an attractive pull. Because if you're going to play for England, or if you're going to play for Spain, or if you're going to play for whoever, going to very much add to or be part of a team that's going to qualify for a major tournament. If you're going to play for Ireland at the minute, it's you're going to play for a manager that you don't know a lot about. That again, as you say, Chief, we've watched the League of Ireland, we see it. We see how brilliant Kenny has done with Dundalk, and been involved in Europe, and winning leagues and cups, and how what a great side he put together. I'd be worried about how much weight that carries across the water or wherever the team he's picking is playing. Look, again, we don't know. We're only speculating on this here, but it has to be a factor.
I suppose we've got a bit of evidence from the fact, like with Brian Kerr, like obviously he kind of had an issue with that, even though obviously the likes of Robbie Keane and Damien Duff, he was a massive part of their early development and stuff. But you had people like Jason McAtee, right? Whatever you want to say about him, he was a good player for Ireland. He was critical of Brian Kerr and that, and there was that, imposter syndrome or whatever. They thought, this guy, who is he? Why did he get the job? Blah, blah, blah. It is a difficult one, and we're only speculating here, but a lot of comments coming on here, Cowan. I don't know if you want to take any one of these that are jumping out. But again, as I said at the start, it definitely polarizes opinion. You've got people here, saying he needs time, and other people are saying Columba Malloy this week proved that there is no standalone result, no sequence of poor results that will shame the supporters of Stephen Kenny. The people offering the strongest defence of the manager are the same voices that demanded the removal of previous Irish manager over the head of results. International football, more so than club, is exclusively a results-driven business. It is the main income generator for the FAI. It's hard to disagree with that. Like, to be fair,
yeah, it's a great point. Like, and as I say, I mentioned there at the start, how we watch the Premier League, we watch the Champions League. We get entertained by that type of football. International football, I'm not really looking to be entertained when I watch Ireland play. I want to be going to major tournaments. I want to be enjoying those major tournaments when you're having a crack at the best in the world and where Ireland can pull out performances. If that means that we have to dog it out, against Serbia's and Luxembourg's in, the group stages or whatever, or the qualifying round, of these tournaments, then look, that's what, that's what I would want anyway. And I think that's what a lot of the international fans want to see. They want to be involved in these tournaments. They want to be having a crack and, be talking about, we're going to play Brazil, or we're going to play Italy, or we're going to play Germany, whoever it is. And when you get that far, you never know. Like, you never know. And they'd be as worried about that as ever, because if you have a group of lads and they are all pulling in one way, and, blood and thunder can get you through a lot at times. And I'm saying, look, it's not really the way forward maybe to play football like they got there, but unless you have, like people are saying here, unless you have the team that's that can play that style of football. And somebody's made a good point there. I'm not sure I just jumped up there that, can we not have an attractive style of football while being hard to play against and be.
Well, I was just about to make the same point. Like, I think he's spot on there, because it doesn't have to be one way or the other. Like, I think this, it doesn't have to be this pure, absolute. Like, and I love to see football played the right way, but I'm also a pragmatist as well, where, like, there's different ways to, skin a cat, as they say. But, like, we could have that approach where we're tough to beat and we're really ugly in terms of the defensive side of the game. But then, like, when we have possession, we can make a concerted effort to keep it. But it doesn't mean we need to play out from the back all the time, or play all these different patterns and styles which are nice in the eye. I definitely think, I think it was Gary Funston that was right, and you're right as well. We can have a mix of both. Like, I think we had that under McCarthy back in the day. Obviously, look, don't want to go back there. We had world class players back then, but I definitely think, in my personal opinion, I was a supporter. I like Kenny. I think it's brave what he's trying to do. The easiest thing in the world to do would have come in there. Play 5 across the back, 4 across the back, 5 across the middle. Play percentage football. Do the status quo. Be competitive, but it's an ugly style. You still not make it results. He's trying to change a culture, a philosophy. I appreciate that, but unfortunately, if you're not getting results doing that, and you're losing to the likes of Luxembourg. Like, if you look at the teams we've played Serbia, decent side, right? But we've played Finland, we've played Wales, we've played Bulgaria, we've played Slovakia, we've played Luxembourg. Like, they're not the top European sides, and we're not beating them, and that's the big concern. But they're not cheap,
but they're still, like, the likes of Wales. Look at the Wales squad. Like, they've still got they've still got Premier League players. Obviously they got Gareth Bale, whose form isn't what it used to be, but he's still capable of magic. You've got a lot of good lads. Young players that are in top clubs. Like, I just feel that, as I said kind of before, that's the level that we're at. And international football isn't the same. Like, you sort of look at the teams that you say there that we are playing against. They aren't. They're not the top sides, but they're still hard to beat. They're still hard to beat. Mm. They have they're sort of sticking to their plan. They're sticking to their ethos as such. And, I'm not sure if what we're trying to implement is, kind of structured around the identity of what we were good at and how we unsettled teams in the past. That's
100%. And again, I think maybe I don't know if people are picking us up wrong. See, John Forsyth saying, why can't you have both? Countries like Croatia, Iceland don't have huge populations, but they play the proper way, which promotes a higher standard of player over time. Rome wasn't built in a day, I get that. But I think the reason Iceland and Croatia are having success now is maybe the structures, John, that they put in place 10, 15, 20 years ago. I think like Iceland have where their UEFA A licensed coaches and stuff, it's done for free. We know it's very expensive in Ireland to go through your badges. Iceland, sort of made it, incentivize coaches to go and get, they're highly qualified coaches all over the country, and they're getting the results of that now. So I think everyone's different, and again, as I say, polarizes opinion. But for me, at the minute, the results just aren't. He's not going to survive. Basically, if we who do we have next? I think I said Azerbaijan, Portugal, and Serbia again. If you're getting no points out of that again, or maybe 3 or something.
Again, probably the thing about it is, as well, which is so difficult, and it's kind of, I suppose, every international manager is now. He doesn't see the guys now, I think, maybe until September. Would that be right? If that's when the next game is, if that's the next qualifier is, maybe
that's the next group of qualifiers, anyway.
Yeah. So, how is he? He sort of felt last night was a plus, if you can call it a plus, getting a draw against Qatar. They didn't lose. They scored a goal. Has to be taken as a plus, right? And they played quite well. It was I was glad to see Duffy come back in last night and do okay. You know what I mean? Because I just think that it was such a. I'm not again be deciding where players should go and where they shouldn't go. Duffy is a top defender, and I mean a top defender at Brighton, where he had to head it, he had to kick it, he had to block things, and that's what he was so good at. And I just think, and that's where he needs to be. That's what that's where he does really well, and that's why for Ireland he was one of our best players because
we were defending on the edge of the box and we were making blocks. We're
arguably our best chance of a goal there for a long time. We were looking at Duffy from a set piece, and
there's nothing wrong with that, though. There's nothing wrong with that. Keeping it tight and scoring a goal from set pieces,
when you look at from the last night, where did you see a goal coming from? I don't know. So I say, I was glad to see him come in. Hopefully, he can regain a bit of form. Hopefully, he can, he's
had a tough time. It was good, and he's always someone I don't think has ever let Ireland down. Do you know what I mean? They've all had poor games, but he's someone who generally has always done really well for Ireland. He scored big goals and stuff, and I would agree with that. It was good to see him come back in. Some interesting points here as well from Tony McNamee and that as well, and Benny Boner. They're chatting about the Dutch guy that came in, the rude doctor and stuff. Problem the issue I'd have with him as well, and I'd be asking questions is, as much as you want to have a broader conversation about the mismanagement of the FAI as an organisation, which has been well documented, it's a disgrace, and great book Champagne Football highlights that, and there's a lot to answer for. But that guy has been in the job for a long time. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Was he not given the resources to do what he wanted to do? I don't think so. I just think somebody's got to ask some questions about some of the people that were employed by the FAI and say, here, guys. You've been in the job for a long time, and the results aren't great. So I think sometimes it's easy to, I think Delaney deserves to be a scapegoat. Don't get me wrong, but I do think there's other questions to ask about. Maybe have we taken the wrong approach in terms of player development, as well. So it's hard to put it all on Kenny's doorstep as well. When he's going to change things, and he's in the firing line, as he said last night. That's the gig, but. It
was good. Keith, what I was happy about last night, he came out fighting after the game. You see his comments after the game. He wasn't obviously one of the statements he made. Everyone's come out of the woodwork to kick us while we're down. Again, we're all, there's too many people that are good at that. Having a crack at somebody should do that. They should do that. I would be if he was gone in the morning, who would want that job? Again, who would like to come in? And that's one, I suppose, for people that are watching here and that are listening, who would just like to see come in? But it was great to see him come out and be aggressive and be annoyed. He's been involved, and it's not a case that he's come from under 17s, under 18s, under 21s, and then into the Ireland job. He's been involved in men's football. He's been involved at the top end of the League of Ireland. We talked about the leagues, we talked about the cups, we talked about the European stuff. Yeah. Major ties. He can handle pressure. There's no doubt about that there. And I think the fact that he really wants to now, he will want to turn this around. He will want to show those people and a crack at them, and that's that can be a dangerous animal too. Where you really want to prove those people wrong, and he'll be doing everything in his power to do that.
Yeah, and the thing that disappoints me about it as well, about the whole thing. I mean, you can criticise Stephen Kenny, and I've been critical of him, but I've been disappointed at some people, like friends of mine, who are like almost sort of gloating because they took a position from the very start that Kenny wasn't good enough, he wasn't the right man for the job, and they're almost, I would say, honestly, like gloating, and they're saying, where are all the boys who were giving Martin O'Neill stick and all that? Like, and I thought Martin O'Neill did a brilliant job for Ireland. He got us the major tournament, got us great results against Germany, but it ran its course. Like, it was time for O'Neill to move on, and he did, but he's still done a good job. But they're going back now saying, oh, Kenny, but we play nice football under Kenny, and they're sort of they're being derogatory towards him, and I don't understand that. I wouldn't care if Tony McNamee was the manager for Ireland, you know what I mean? I wouldn't care. Like, as long as we got results, I would get behind them and support them. But what the Irish team, it's almost like, Trapattoni, half the country wanted him, the other half didn't. I don't know why we just can't get behind a manager, give him time, support him, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I don't know why we play them off, previous managers. I don't know if you've seen that yourself on social media.
Oh, of course you do, yeah. But like at the minute, obviously, like Kenny's an easy target. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's just somebody made the point as well there. They're kind of flying up past me here, but somebody made the point that I was unsure about when they'd be meeting again. The problem was a pre-season or a summer tournament or a few summer games. I can't get too friendlies. Yeah. Frank Kevin Donald said that there. I'd be interested to see how many of your top players or how many of your players will be making themselves available for those, lads giving up their summer holidays to go off on international duty. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, there's been a few injuries and there's been this, that, and the other. Like, how many of those players will be wanting to go? Like, we have no doubts that your Seamus Coleman's, your James McLean's, your Duffy's, you're thinking that they'll be making themselves available. They've shown great, they've shown great leadership over the last week there, and they're obviously going to be there. But it'll be interesting to see how much of your Hendricks, your Brady's, these lads that have been called into question for me anyway over the last week or so, or over a couple of weeks, very much so under Kenny's reign, where these lads, were like under O'Neill and stuff like it, and under McCarthy, putting in good performances, doing really well, but it just seems to be like they're there, but that's all there,
Yeah, exactly. See a few comments coming in here. I'm getting a bit of abuse again here from me manager out in Dubai, Len Holbrook. He's giving me stick about ladder and passing, but he's someone, like, obviously he's a very passionate Irish supporter. He's from Cork, like, and he's been critical of Kenny. But I would ask him the question, what do you want to see? Like, what style of football do you want to see? Who do you think? I think, Kieran, you already posed the question. Who do people think should take over? It's very easy to say, get rid of him, get him out, move, rip it up, rip it up 6 months in. But what's the plan then? And we just, like, there is this boom bust cycle in Irish football that different people have alluded to. Like, what do we want to do? Do we want to try, and do we just suck it up and say, what, we're not going to get the major tournament for 10 years. Let's try and develop players now over the years, or what do we do? I don't know the answer. I'm asking you guys, I'm asking you, Colin. I don't know, but it's $1 million question for me. It's again, as we say, it's a question of philosophy v results. It'd be great if you can merge the two, but it always doesn't happen. And I do think there needs to be a real realization we don't have the players. And like, can you name who's Ireland's 3 best players? After Coleman, you're struggling. Seriously, like, honestly.
We're obviously quite biased towards Coleman, but look, that's only because he's played well at Everton for the last number of years, and he's played for Ireland for the last number of years and been excellent. But yes, you have to look at your best player. Yeah, he probably is the best player there. Other than him, do you look to, you're looking at Matt Doherty maybe because he plays for Spurs. He hasn't really been doing the business for Spurs. He's definitely really not doing the business for Ireland. I can't say that he's been, like, I'd be looking at, like, someone for me, like, Shane Long, who has, for me, he's never really let Ireland down and come up with some big moments. Even the last night, he chased the last.
I'd play Shane Long every week, 100%, especially with James Collins up top. No disrespect to the fella, but
but like, again, like, that's what we're looking at. We're talking about the teams like Luxembourg that are, that have, players dotted all over Europe. He's struggling to get his game for Luton Town. And
exactly.
That's just the reality of where we are. I know, look, and again, something that we haven't really spoke about is the injury problems that Kenny's had over the last, couple of months, and the whole COVID thing has destroyed it in terms of players not being available. And like, if he has everything, and you can say this about any manager, if he has all his players fit, and he's got his full pool to pick from there, I don't think you're too far away about what you can achieve. But but then again, that's enough, and like he has to get that time.
Do you think that? Are you saying playing that same style, or maybe being a little bit more of a hybrid approach where he's mixing it up a wee bit, or do you think he has his full deck of cards available, playing that style, you'll get results? Are you still confident, or do you not think they're a wee bit open? Like, you're a centre half. Can I ask you a question? You're a centre half, back three or a back four. What were you more comfortable playing? And again, completely different thing, League of Ireland to international football, but just as it's a relative question to.
Well, I think
because I think we're wide open at 3-5-2. That's my opinion, but.
Yeah, but again, I think it's just the players that you have at your disposal. In terms of the rotation, maybe in the middle, if you have one guy who's the experienced footballer who's going to say, you know what, lads, run yous on, and I'll stay here. The elder, the guy with a bit of experience will generally do that.
Yes.
But when you look at who was in the middle of the field last night, there wasn't a lot of experience in there.
No.
You know what I'm saying? There wasn't that. Go back and thinking get Glenn Whelan there, because he did that job, but he did it so well for years. So when he did play that style, he could. The other two midfielders could bomb on. Like, I don't know. Again, look, we're kind of going around in circles here with it a bit.
It's hard, it's a good point here from Mike McDougall. He said it's a cliche, but football is about results. I think, as a cliche is true. That's not to say Kenny's philosophy can't get results, but it has to be with the right players. It's a thankless task for him to implement that style to players who aren't used to doing it when you only see them 3 or 4 times a year. Very true. Until Ireland start producing players who are comfortable playing that style of football, results will be hard to come by, and that's a very interesting point. And again, hard to argue. I think a lot of people are making valid points. Len Hallbrooks came back saying his process was too drastic. Okay, we do need a change, but he ran before he could walk, so he feels that he's gone too quick in terms of changing things. I think Michael McDougall's point's a very good point as well about players they're not probably playing that way in their clubs. And then, I don't know, it's a tough one. And as you say, we're probably going around sorry. But what's your point in those comments, or what do you want to add to them, or whatever?
Well, it's just in terms of thinking, he ran before he could walk. It was kind of I think maybe that's a good point in terms where people were looking for change so much, and he's maybe tried to go with the press line a bit there. But we tried to maybe make that this was his ethos, and he was going to come in and he was going to stamp his authority on it straight away. Like, it's a dangerous game because you have to get results then straight away if that's the way that you're going to go about things.
Yes,
I feel that, like what you said there earlier, Chief, I feel that if this is the way we're going to go about things, then we almost have to hold our hands up and say that we're not going to qualify because we are too open in the way that we play. But the players that he has are young and will learn from this. But then again,
I think
we have the likes of, sorry, just to finish off that there, we have the likes of, a Seamus Coleman, who at the minute seems to be, gold for us. Once he goes, who then is going to bang that drum? Who is the next person who's going to come around? Who do you see the next Ireland captain being from what's there? And interestingly enough, the young lad Knight, who's at Derby, and obviously Wayne Rooney rates him very highly. He's given the captaincy. Somebody like him, and you can even see him there throughout the games, the way that he goes about, and the way that he's very traditional. He gets about the park, he puts in tackles, he doesn't let a man pass him by. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Yeah, he's got a bit about him.
Definitely. If he even the game last night, although it was only a friendly, you could see him. If things weren't happening on the pitch, he was having a bite and he was having a go, and he was, again, if a guy was running off his shoulder, by hook or by crook, he was stopping him. And to see a bit more of that there, I think 100%. That gives us a bit of hope rather than, just, the way we seem to be going through things and, just being too nice and just being too, look, we're trying to do things right here and kind of a bit of football snobbery in there for me, like. which isn't.
Like again, I love, like, you know, I think Gary Fulton said, I hate that we don't have the players line. If you get the Premier League, you're technically good enough to play any style of football. You know, Championship is as good as the 10 European top leagues. I understand that, nobody's trying to say, but you know, implementing all that, you don't normally get the time in international football, like, you know, to implement a style of play. Now, if you have top players, they can buy into that and adapt very quickly. Whereas if you don't, you know, players are creatures of habit. You know what I mean? You're a creature of habit. What do you do week in, week out that works for you? And then all of a sudden you're asked to do a completely different thing. It's really difficult, like, you know. But for me, the whole thing with Ireland, I think there needs to be acceptance. If we're embracing this style, we're going to have more bad nights. That's my opinion. There's Luxembourg's not a one-off. I don't think there's any gimmies anymore. If I look at the Ireland team anymore, and you're looking at their Luxembourgs and your Georges and your Montenegros, whatever, they're not gimmies anymore.
No.
You know, you're not looking at them saying, well, that's 6 points, whatever. Even Azerbaijan, like, I just don't think that's, again, I think highlights the lack of quality we have. Like, you know, who's your main striker?
There is, I don't think, as you said, sorry to cut across you.
No, sorry.
There are no gimmies, you know, and I think Luxembourg and Azerbaijan, you know, drew there recently as well. So, you know, like, if we can't beat Luxembourg, but then they can get, you know, Azerbaijan can get something off them, that's kind of the level that we're at, you know. And as I say, we need to realize where we're at. Like, what was wrong with making the fans played a major part, but making, you know, the Aviva a hard place to go as a centre half at times. You know, when you come up against a big centre forward and the balls are raining on top of you, it's a tough night at the office. And yes, you'll try your best to get, but you're going to miss one or two just by percentages, you know, and just because of, you know, like, that's a hard thing to do. And if teams aren't used to playing against that, like, you see the likes of Burnley there. Say when Burnley go to, like, Burnley could get beat by, you know, Everton. They get beat by mid-table teams. None else spring to mind, and I've just said Everton there. And then, but they can go to Man City and they could beat Man City 1-0, or they could beat 6-1. You know what I mean? But there is the chance of getting that result because the teams that
they're hard to beat and they're horrible to play against.
The teams that are passing the ball around and are used to passing out from the back, and they don't want to be hit and pushed about and things. So, like, why adapt, you know, the European model, you know, the higher European model, to make it easier or to play into the hands of teams that we could have beat, you know, in the past by playing the way that we did? Is that an argument? Is that a fair statement, do you think?
I think you're right. I think going back to what you're saying, you know, when you are difficult to play against, you're highlighting the Germany game. Like, Germany were world champions and we took 4 points off them. I was at the Aviva that night. Like, you know, I was celebrating them just clearing the ball in the last 10 minutes out of play as if it was a game of rugby. Like, everyone was going, because we were 1-0 up and we beat Germany. It was an unbelievable result. And Joe Chilo or whatever, he's sniffing himself. But he's coming out after the match going, oh, well, you know, after the 100th time, you know, they kicked it in the air. We made a mistake. But again, not a pretty brand of football, but nobody cared. The whole country was high the next day. Like, do you know what I mean?
If you try and play Germany at their own game, are we going to be able to ever pass Germany off the park? Are we ever going to pop Germany? We're going to take on Germany and pop them.
No.
You know,
No. You know, my point used to be, and we'll not stay too much longer, but I used to be thinking, right, Germany, Italy, France, we don't need to play like that. But I used to be thinking, if we're playing home to Georgia, like, we can play a bit more. Whereas we didn't. We played the same way. But I think the reason we played the same way is because Georgia would eventually make a mistake because their defenders weren't good enough to constantly deal with headers and balls played in behind them. Do you know what I mean? And I think of Luxembourg last night, if they were being forced to deal with headers and we were turning them, they'd eventually make mistakes and you won the game comfortable. But look, well, there's a lot of people. Mark Anderson's agreeing with you. There's a good few lads agreeing with you, Count. So maybe you're making more sense than me. I wouldn't be for the first time, Chief. Declan McGarvey makes a good points there. 3 best players are Coleman, O'Shea and Egan. Probably wouldn't argue with that. Doesn't say much for the rest of the team that the 3 best players are defenders. I think Roy Keane at that point as well. So
that's where you're at. Very much so. Yeah, like, again, like, we're kind of going over all ground in terms of, you know, like, and again, we haven't got the answers.
Summarize it now, right? We've chatted for about half an hour. We've been going all over the place on tangents and that, but just summarize it just in a quick way. You know, your opinion on the future now for Ireland, Stephen Kenny. Like, what's your opinion now?
Well,
give him more time and then review it at the end of the campaign.
I think for me, Kenny stays in. Look, we give the man a chance. We give him a deal. We give him a contract to implement what he wants to do, because people were sick of the puke football, the lumping up the middle, and as we say, like, that was fine when we were qualifying, but when you don't qualify and that's the way you play, then it's ridiculous. And it is time for change. So I think, you know what, young group of players in there, get them playing this way. Try and make, Ireland and international football a good place to be going. Because they are, because I think that can be. Sorry, I'll get carried away. You ask for one line, I'm giving you 20 here. Like, I think
about 7 minutes here, Chief, but whatever.
I think if they are playing that way with their club, and most of them are, then you don't want them saying, "Gee, we're back over to Dublin now, and we're going to drive up the pitch."
You want to make it an enjoyable environment. Yeah,
the players want that. I think, the management want that. I think most of the country would want to try and play a decent brand of football. But look, you have to be getting results very quickly. 100%. And 100%. You're only going to get one shot at it, really. You're only going to get one major tournament.
And like, as we go back, the old thing we've said it 100 times: results business. And if you're not getting results, you're, regardless of whatever job it's in, whether it's football or any industry, you're gonna lose your job. I see Gary Fonson here's having a go at Qatar. Qatar had more possession than Ireland. I can tell you that from experience, the Middle East teams like to get the ball down and play. Gary, all right, so that's football snobbery there.
Chief was a shrewd acquisition. So
we're changing the style of football out here in the Middle East. People like Len Holbrook's trying to take it back, Jack Charlton style, but we got rid of him. Right, lads, we'll move off the international scene now and go back to the Super Harps. Aye, Super Harps, top of the league, and obviously we chat about super result against Dundalk. Obviously, sometimes you can get caught up in the euphoria of the result. We didn't really, if we're being honest, expect Harps to beat Dundalk. We were thinking best case scenario, you sneak a point, you grab a point, whatever. But got the result, fully deserved, full value in it. But on reflection, Cowan, was it more a case of Dundalk being really poor? And again, don't want to be critical of Harps, but they were poor, but Harps were excellent. What's your view now after you've had a few days to digest the result?
I think, first of all, two brilliant results. Wherever you go in the League of Ireland, Premier League, there's no easy games. You have to turn up, you have to play, you have to be well organised, you have to have a team on the pitch that is willing to work hard, stick to the plan. For me, I like going to Dundalk. It's not the Dundalk of old for me. I think it's a brilliant result for Harps to go there and get 3 points. I don't think they would have been expecting that. Although they went there last year, till the end of last season, got a 0-0 draw, so that would have given them confidence. But going down there, start of the season, Dundalk obviously hurting from the week before. Dropped 2 points against Sligo. They'd have been pushing for the 3 points. But Harps going down there with belief after the win against Spurs, and comfortable in the game. Obviously they had a few moments near the end. I'm not going to hit the post.
Yeah, you're going to have that. Like you're going to have that, aren't you?
Definitely. With the quality they have, that they're going to create chances. I just thought it was interesting. When the game wasn't going their way and they went to the bench, and you're bringing on a young lad of 17, 18 years of age, and then another lad that hadn't played it in the league before.
First game in the league, yeah.
That's not what Dundalk previously would have done against Harps. I played in games, and again, this was obviously going back a bit, but I played in games against Dundalk when they were going well against you, and they were going to the bench and they're bringing on, McElhinney, maybe Hubin would have been coming on. As a different
after an hour battling against Dundalk.
Exactly. Daniel Kelly, Colin, serious quality. I think the Dundalk team were, they're missing two of their internationals as well. That was away with the Faroes, and that was away with the Latvian side.
Yeah.
We spoke about McElhinney not being there, who makes them tick. Look, brilliant for Harps. They went there, they've got the 3 points. It's confidence up. It's Foley with another couple of goals, and it's move on to the next one for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose for me, I the reason I was fearful before the match was I thought it's going to be a reaction from Dundalk, because they would have been disappointed, and that's not So that's what was for if you're a Dundalk fan, that's what's worrying, because you'd be expecting home game, bad result in the first game of the season. Let's make a statement of intent, and it didn't materialise for them. And as you touched upon, that lack of real quality, maybe off the bench and stuff, was missing from Dundalk too. But look, from a Harps perspective, I was really impressed by the high press. I think it showed a real statement of intent from Harps, and I was surprised to see it, but I was delighted to see it. And I think it was, as you say, look, great result. But the Drogheda game, you could argue, is a bigger match, because now, the pressure's probably not, I wouldn't say the pressure, but they're probably expected to win. And it'll say more about Harps, I think, this week than maybe the two previous fixtures.
For me, I think you're exactly right there, Chief. I think it's a tougher game because, I think before the season started, this is, arguably you could have been saying this is where you'd be hoping to pick up your first win. And it hasn't materialised that they've won the first two. But you've been looking at this game, you'd be looking at, so you've Drogheda and you have, not Longford, who's the next? Waterford, sorry. So you have Drogheda, you have Waterford. You're looking at those two fixtures, and then a derby against Sligo, a Northwest derby. You'll be thinking, look, if we can get a couple of points there, that's where we'll be looking to pick up our points. So Harps will be going into the match as favourites, almost for me. Ollie, which something that Ollie will hate, and obviously he'll chop that down straight away. And he came out and said, if we get a draw in the last minute, we'll be delighted.
Scrape was the word to use. Scrape,
yeah. Okay, so we scrape a draw in the last, and don't get me wrong, we can say Drogheda, if we look how they have, the type of players that they've got in over the break, the winter break there, they've got experience in there, and they'll be a tough set. Pats beat them 2-1 there at the weekend with a 90th minute winner, and that's in Shakur. So at home, Dundalk will be Drogheda will be no pushover. They got the likes of Dane Massey in there. They've got Denny Corkins come in to set up, Shane Deegan's in there. Daniel O'Reilly that we know that was at Harps 2 seasons ago, was at Shelburne last year. Yeah. So you've got a good mix in there, and you've got the lads that arguably should have been playing in the Premier League last year, with 100%. With Harps beating them, in an extra time playoff. They have a lot of quality, Doyle in there, Highlands in there. They've got a lot of quality. I like the lad Brown, he's fullback. He's got a lot of pace. He showed it against Waterford up and down the line. So, by far, I think, because there's expectancy now as well. I think that's the end. Drogheda will be looking at Harps and saying, they beat Bows, they beat Dundalk. This is a serious team here. We're going to have to be at ourselves. And I think at home, I think they're going to turn up a couple of results this year as well. Drogheda,
definitely. I think you're 100% right there about the quality Drogheda have and that. But it's the expectancy thing now. Even from us as as supporters, we're all of a sudden didn't expect to get 6 points from Bows and Dundalk. You would have been happy with 4. You would have been buzzing with 1. Maybe you would have been delighted with 3 or whatever. You didn't expect 6. You have 6. So all of a sudden, it'll be interesting to see how the players embrace that sort of different sort of pressure where you're expected now because you went to Dundalk to go to Drogheda and win, and then then you're home to Waterford the following week. But I think if Harps can get 4 points from the next 6 games, 6 from 6 again, be incredible. It was a tough.
Yeah,
can do that. It really is. Ollie's going to have a real problem controlling the hype train. But good question here from Mark Anderson. Actually, Robert Love made a really good point about he's been to Oriel Park 8 times, and the last weekend was the first time he's seen a real, different approach, as we've alluded to, where he feels that Ollie trusted the players to go and have a press, and obviously paid off. But Mark Anderson said, question for us lads, how does Ollie keep the squad happy, especially with the amount of strikers, and where do you see Ryan Rainey fitting into that side? It's obviously difficult question, but it is a pertinent one in terms of, I know I've been involved in the jobby squad, and you can spend long time out of the team travelling all over the country, and that's not easy, and it is tough. How do you think he deals with that? Because he's obviously invested a lot in squad, and he's not Ollie better than anyone. He's not really going to change the team to keep boys happy, is he?
I can't see there being many changes as the season goes along. Obviously, with the results as well, lads will be hungry to play. There might have been a group of the jobby squads that would have been thinking, well, look, Dundalk, Bows, we mightn't be getting much there out of those couple of games. Surely he'll make a few changes and
he'll talk. Yeah.
You know, but people are going to have to be patient now. Very much so with the way that the results have gone. Ollie, you know, notoriously, he's going to be looking at it now as well. I think this is a very valid point. He's going to be looking at the game. We beat Bows. We beat Dundalk. Who can't we beat now? You might have seen maybe a game as Dundalk, you know, away to make a few changes to throw in 4 or 5 because you're not really expected to get much anyway. So good enough to give the lads a run and, you know, save the legs for, no disrespect for the likes of a Drogheda last couple of years where we need those points. Those are the ones that have to go. So now it's, you know, it's very much so. Will he make wholesale changes? No, he won't. Will he, you know, stick with the same side that has proven now that he can trust? Yes, I think he definitely will.
Yeah, I agree with you. And where do you see? I know you were in training with Bonaghy and that a little bit between your move to Glentoran and stuff, and obviously Ryan Rainey. You know, Ollie's not signing him, you know, for the crack. Like Ollie only signs players that he thinks can do a job for him. Where do you see him playing? Again, tough question for you to answer, but Mark's put it out there. You know, he's going to have to be patient, right? And he doesn't have experience in the League of Ireland, you know, in the First Division or the Premier Division. But where do you see him playing? Do you think he could play potentially in a wing-back role, or do you think maybe in the middle of the field? Where do you see him? Do you think?
I'd like to see him operate in the middle of the park. I think technically he's very good on the ball. I think he can pass. I think he can. You know, he's got that physical quality that, you know, that Ollie likes in his players. So I think, you know, if you can get him in the middle of the park, again, it's just that lack of experience in the league that, you know, that probably is to Ryan's detriment. And, you know, where is he going to pick that up? You know, again, we always
does he have the Mickey Funston shithousery? No. Is that not a Bonaghy thing? Like they all have it. It's in the DNA out there. No, or is it just a specialty from Funston?
It's baked into them. I think Funsty's doing a course out there as well for them. So
he's holding online webinars for shithousery during the whole lockdown. Like
no better man, Chief. But I think as well, what's going to work against the size of the squad that they have. Again, you know, after 2 or 3 games, you know, you be playing the EA Sports Cup or whatever it was, or the, you know, like the kind of League Cup.
The League Cup game usually
that's not there, you know. So there's again an opportunity where fringe players would have had a go, you know, and again more so this year that there definitely would have been fringe players thrown in there to facilitate.
Trust me from experience, I know, Chief, especially under Ollie. You'll play in Galway, boy. You'll play in Galway. As if this was unbelievable. Playing, you know, all the jobbies were out that night. You'll play on Monday, boy. You're playing on Galway on Monday. I was like, and I won't play again for the rest of the season. But it's all good. It's all good. Hey, any other comments coming in there now? Ian Slane sort of added to a recurrent theme as well. Mark Coyle's hit the ground running. You know, and he's highlighted that, you know, he was maybe a bit skeptical of Mark prior to the start of the season, but I agree with what he said. I thought he's been top notch in the 2 games in there, you know. And there's a lot of competition in midfield, so maybe that spurred him on as well, where he's thinking maybe last season maybe this wasn't the same level of depth, whereas now he's probably looking. He's signed, you know, Conor Barry, Seymour's in there. There's a lot of Ryan Rainey. There's a lot of competition in there. So do you think, you know, Mark Coyle, what type of character is that? He's someone who'll relish that challenge of, like, you know, I'm in here and you're gonna have a job to get me out of the team.
100%. Like Mark's a great competitor. You know, like he will give you absolutely everything. You know, he's as you say, he gets about the park. You know, honest as the day is long, almost to his detriment at times. Where, you know, we kind of spoke last week where maybe there's times when he has to get about the park and he has to. Yeah. Maybe instead of going into a tackle where he has to stand somebody up and maybe try and show him a direction.
Yes.
Maybe it's his Gaelic football background as well, where he just kind of goes in the tackle straight away, and, you know.
I think he gave away the free kick for the goal, didn't he?
Yeah, debatable free kick too. Like I'm not going to.
It was, we saw him.
But I think, you know, like I think somebody
plays into your point. Like I get.
I think Conan Byrne tweeted at the time as well. Something like, you know, 3 sure things in life: death, taxes, and, you know, Mark Coyle picking up a booking. So, I didn't see that. I think he has a point to an extent, but I think again that's something that Mark will improve on during the year, and I think the more it's highlighted as well. But without changing his game and without taking anything away.
No, you can't take that out. You can't take that out of his game because you're losing a bit then, aren't you?
That's why he's in the team, Chief, because I think you need somebody. I think the way that Harps play, and I think it's been kind of highlighted as well that although we have 6 points, we've kind of conceded possession a lot of the time and be happy just to be organised and to sit back and to let other teams have the ball. And if that's the way you're going to play, then somebody like Mark is, you have to have him in the team.
Oh, he's critical. Like.
He closes gaps, as I say. He gets about. He puts his foot in. He's hard to play against. Players hate playing against him because he will leave a wee bit on you every opportunity he gets. Within the laws of the game as well. So there's nothing wrong.
Yeah, sounds like you're describing me there as well. Hey, but former teammate of ours, Raymond, former teammate of ours, good player, Foy.
Yes.
What do you want to take that comment there, Chief?
Okay, I'll take this one. Yeah, from Raymond. Ollie has ticked the box there by signing one local amongst all the signings. Could be wrong. Really excellent on the ball, Bonagee. Again, look, I wouldn't like to be saying that it's a tick the box signing by getting a local lad in. You have to Rainey's got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
He's played football at a good level, youth football, albeit he's definitely someone that the crowd will want to see and that local people will want to see. I hope that he gets his chance. I hope he's patient. Because
he needs to be patient, like he does, because he could be up there for 3 months without kicking a ball. Like we've all been there. You've been there. I've been there, and it's tough. You're training 3-4 nights a week. You're traveling all over the country. I remember Dad ringing me, "Did you play last night?" And then you have to just persevere with the hope. You keep doing the right thing to train it.
And that's something. As you said, Chief, look, I've been in the boat myself. Where someone, you've come from a certain maybe level of football, and you've gone to, he's gone to Harps now. We'll just put it like that. He's gone to Harps now, so people straight away will be looking at, "Oh, are you playing? And he'll be getting it from people around him. Stuff that, forget about that. There, don't forget about it. Don't forget about it. You stick at it. You stick at it very much. You stick at it. You give it everything you have, okay? And look, he mightn't play until maybe the last 2 months of the season, all right? And he mightn't play much this season at all right? But what he has to do is he has to stay there. He has to give it a year. He might have to give it 2 years until he gets it. But I have no doubt that once he gets in and once people can see and he can prove to people, how good a player he is, because it's not going to happen overnight for him. And I think that's where sometimes lads can, maybe go somewhere and it doesn't work out for them straight away and just throw the head up and just say, what, stuff.
Well, we've both seen that so many times with different players that are in there and they get in the team and they do well for a couple of months and then they can't sort of deal with being out of the team and they leave, and you're like, senior football's tough. It's tough for a reason. Like, if it was easy, everyone would play it. Do you know what I mean? But it requires a lot of sacrifice, and you're going to spend a lot of time out of it. And Foy's made that point there. He sort of said, needs to be patient. Definitely, we've all been there. He can jump early, but I would say to Rainey, do be patient. I think he does have quality. He can play for Bonagee when he's 36. I think he's a good opportunity for him now.
Well. And that's where you
let's go back to Bonagee.
Yeah, you make a great point there, Chief. For players, have to, if they want to play senior football, then you have to give it. You have to apply yourself to it. And I say, it's not going to happen over. We've all been in the position where you have to earn the right to play. As you say, you can play for the senior league, you can play for a team now, you can play for your hometown club when you're 37, as you say. But you have to give it. You have to have no regrets over the whole thing. I think that's important for him. And what's unfortunate for him is he'll have people.
He'll have that pressure. He will. That's what I know. I know the things he's going to be saying to him. Get him back here. You're top player. You'll play every week. Blah blah.
Yeah.
And, they're his mates. It's his hometown club and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I just want to say to Foy, I know Foy's had to, stop playing football prematurely as well. So that's obviously, he was a brilliant player for Harps, played at Stewart, great lad as well. So I'm sure he'll have a great career in coaching, Foy, anyway. And hopefully you'll be better than your dad. That's all I'll say. But now, what are you joking? Your dad's a sound man, hey, sound man. But yeah, the squad thing, as we said, look, we've chatted enough about Ryan there, but think perseverance is definitely one he's going to need to have as well. But it'll be interesting to see. And anyone else really impressed you, Cowan? Obviously, there's been, it's hard to criticise any Harps player in the opening 2 games. Anyone that sort of stood out for you, and in terms of maybe that we haven't spoke about in the opening 2 matches?
Well, I suppose, we're all kind of, we're all looking at Foley and the goals, his contribution. And, I think he's a man that, has had experience, but kind of, as we mentioned last week, he's been plucked from obscurity in terms of, no disrespect in Uri City, but he's now, very much to the forefront in the Premier League of Ireland, where he's almost, I believe he's top scorer, obviously early doors, but, he's someone that's come in and, embraced what Ollie's trying to do, what Hegarty's trying to do. I would be slightly concerned at, look, again, not to be criticising anything here, but the goals that he scored, he's very much poached those goals, and
absolutely,
because other lads wouldn't try a leg. A big man up top, is he supposed to be chasing down keepers, or is he supposed to be nicking it off defenders and then run through? That's the only thing where I feel that yes, we're only 2 games in. It will get more difficult for Harps, I find, because of their own success. Teams are going to be looking at them a lot differently. They're going to be taking them a lot more seriously. But I think Foley's had a great start, and I hope it continues. Other players that we might look at as well. McGinley has been class. Showed his class when called upon last week. Very, very good, great save. World class save, but a save that's going to that's saved you 2 points there, and you've gone on to win the game. I think it's absolutely, he's been excellent.
No, he's been. What I like about McGinley, he makes things look routine. Do you know, like things that are awkward, but he makes them look easy and no fuss, but you could easily spell, or do you know what I mean? I think
that could go back to the start, Chief. I remember when he came out at the very start, and I think he played the Brandywell. I'm not sure if it was pre-season or a cup game, and he's tried to take it round the. He's tried to take it round one of the centre forward, and they've nipped it off him. I don't know if they scored, they just clipped it over the bar, but he found out very early that it wasn't going to be as easy.
He was coming from the Gaelic, where he was able to kick the ball off the cone and all that. It was probably a bit of a culture shock again from getting back into the League of Ireland. Who told him very quickly? Was it you or Ollie?
I think we all had to go that night. I think me, Ollie, and Higgsy all opened the lungs on him that night. But I think
Mark Anderson said it was a cup match. It was a cup game. He said so. It wasn't a pre-season, but it was a cup. Barry McGowan said he's up there with the best in the league. Yeah, for him, hard to argue with that. He is definitely up there in the top keepers. I mean, in terms of consistency, I think you mentioned it before, Cowan. He's won Player of the Year, I think, 2 years in a row up there. So that tells its own story. But who's a better defender, Cowan? Who's a better defender now? Before we move off, McGinley. He's asking you. Ian Slevin's asking.
Ian Slevin,
Webster or Cowan?
Put me under pressure. Well, look, you look at Webster. You look at the clubs he's played for. He's a top defender. He's come to Harps, and I'm delighted to see. Again, I don't know Webster. But speaking to a few of the players that I've played with him. Top man, he comes in, he cares, which is great. It hurts when he loses, and he loves it. You can see by the reaction. I think that's always a telltale sign that when the player scores or whatever, if everyone's getting in and getting involved, that's generally that it's a good camp there, and he's very 100%. Much part of that. He's a captain this year. He's obviously somebody that Ollie trusts. So. I think it's just
probably a hard question for you to answer too, so I'll answer it. I think you're better than him, Cowan, and you're also better looking than them as well. So
that's why
it's a 2-0 win to you, Chief.
That's why you're there. That's why you're there, and Webby's not there.
But the Harps, they definitely have some top defenders there, and it's going to be important. They're going to be a hard team to beat this year, and they've set out their stall and having a top keeper. And experience massive.
Experience is
Foley hasn't kicked the ball. You know what I mean?
Well, on the back, Stephen Foley, and he came on last night, and I was just looking at him, and not to be too critical. He looked a bit bigger than I remember him, and not to be poking a finger at him or whatever. But he's going to find it difficult to get in that team. I find with the likes of Webster, with the likes of Ethan Boyle, with Big Siddiqui, McElhaney, loads of experience there, but he's an experienced man too. He's played at the top teams in the country. He'll be wanting to get his place in that there. Hopefully, he's not just coming up the road for the dough. Like again, and there's another lad too, Shane McElhaney, that I'm really impressed by since he's been there. You could have said that he's had his career at Derry, he's had his career at Larne. You could coming back and playing for Harps. Was it handy for him to come back in and play? But look, he's showing that he wants to compete. Played in the middle of the field a couple of times last year. I don't know what that was about, by the way. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that he was asked to play in the middle of the field.
There was no need for that, then.
I know he was saying the exact same thing himself. Why am I being played on here? This is whatever. But look, I was delighted to see him. I was surprised to maybe see him starting the first two games. But by all means, he definitely deserves credit for the way that he conducted himself from the start of the season.
I'm laughing when you're on about McElhaney playing in the middle of the park. That's when I knew. I think I've said it before in the podcast. When my days at Harps were numbered. When Ollie played Damien McNulty in the middle of the park, as good a player as McNulty is to defend, he was like a fish up a tree, and I was like, right, I'm out of here. See ya. See ya.
That was the final nail for you, Chief, was it?
That was it. Well, that was the day. Remember the bus gate going to Belgrove. We had to drive down, and then McNulty's playing in the middle of the park, and at Belgrove as well. You're thinking the Jobby squad would have got a run out, but
I think Ollie got one. I think Ollie got one that the boy stopped in the Four Seasons for Shop Cases. I think
that's right. That's right.
I think that was the end of that one. I'll tell you what, great one up the road. Crack was brilliant.
Brilliant. My last game for Harps, it was one I'll definitely never forget. That's for sure. But I think what you're saying too about Folan, we just go back about Rainey. There's two players that polar opposites in terms of Folan's had this really long career, and he's going to have to be patient as well. You know what I mean? And he will be, and he's been in that situation before. And you've Rainey kind of starting out his senior career, so. It kind of goes back to our general point. You have to earn to get in the team, and once you get in the team, you have to stay in the team, and that's just it's a dog eat dog sort of obviously industry. League of Ireland is tough going. Any other comments there jumping out of you, Cowan? We're obviously in over an hour here, so we'll probably wrap things up soon enough. But any other comments you want to take on there from anyone? Or?
Yeah, interesting one there from Kieran McGrath. Harps might be hoping Mark McGinley doesn't get injured, because he'd be a major loss. I don't know what you think about that, but I think that's right on the money. And it's a position where you need experience. It's a position that you need, someone. And that's why you might look at other teams around the country and that they have that. I'm not sure what you think in that, Chief. They brought him, the young lad from Sligo.
I spoke about that before. My issue with that, right? And I think Robert Love said the lad from Sligo was very highly rated and stuff. And he might well be, but for me, if you're bringing in a number two, an experienced number two, like Richard Brush, 100% makes sense. Yeah, you want an experienced number two, to back up when McGinley gets injured, 100%, no brainer. And not just Richard Brush, any experienced league. When you're bringing up a lad that doesn't have any experience in the league, you don't want to keep bringing Paddy McGarvey up, but for me, Paddy McGarvey's been involved with Harps for the last number of years. He's a top young goalkeeper. I know he got an injury there in pre-season, but for me, he's just the automatic choice in number two, because Mark McGinley, you hope is going to play there for a long time, but the natural successor you would think to McGinley would be a Paddy McGarvey. So for me, I think he needs to be around that environment. He needs to be in the dressing room. He needs to see Mark Anthony McGinley close up. He needs to maybe see a few dust-ups that happen in dressing rooms and understand that's the environment. That's what is expected. You learn, you're absorbing everything, and I think he needs to be in that environment. I don't know if you agree with me in that. And again, I don't want to be critical. This young lad who's come up from Sligo, we come up on loan or whatever, and we could be a goalkeeper. But for me,
If that has, obviously, look, we don't know the ins and outs. If that has something to do with the injury, the fact that he was there, or was he there before, and we don't know that that's the case. But for me, he's definitely someone that I would have been pushing to get him as much first team experience as possible. He, when I was there, he was able to be in training. He was a good guy. He had presence. Shot stop, and his ability was undoubted. There was no question at all.
Yes.
But I just feel that that kind of whole thing where we want to see local players getting their opportunity. Very much so, and he was definitely one where you thought, look, get him in, get him experience, and I think maybe somebody made the argument that look, he can concentrate on the 19s and X, Y, and Z. He'd be well capable for the 19s. Make no bones about that. And I'm sure if you ask him, like he would love to be going to Oriel Park on a Friday night and playing 19s on a Saturday or whatever the case may be. And he'd gain confidence.
Gives you great confidence as well. 100%. It would give you massive confidence. You're involved with the first team squad, even if you don't play, and then you're going into the 19s.
Ian Slevin making another point here, Chief. Can you see Harps challenge for Europe this season?
Yeah, I'm just laughing at some of the comments going on from Len. Hey, classic. I always get a few trolls slagging me about my shirt and stuff. Ian Slevin, can I see Harps challenge for Europe? I think, honestly, like we said earlier, I think these next two matches are arguably, for me, bigger and will give us a bigger indication of how well Harps can potentially do this season. Because I think if they go and they take care of Drogheda and Waterford, or they get 4 points from 6, I think that's a huge statement of intent where they've went and got a win against Bows, went away to Dundalk and won. But as we said, these are two tougher matches because there's expectancies have been raised. How do the players adapt it? Drogheda and them, not that they would have underestimated Harps, but they would have been thinking that's an opportunity for us to get 3 points. Drogheda are thinking. But now they're thinking, oh, hold on. This is a different sort of challenge that we might have previously expected before the games. If Harps can go and get 2 positive results in the next 2 games, I think you could seriously, without getting carried away, you start thinking maybe Harps have gone to a different level here in terms of going and getting results. I don't know if you agree. I think they have anyway. I think they have anyway. No, I do think they have as well. Yeah. But I do think if you lose the 2 games, which isn't against the realms of possibility either, then you're thinking right, hold on, where are we at? So things can change very quickly in football, but I think if you get 2 positive results, the momentum that gives you, the confidence, like it really massive game for me, massive, biggest game. Obviously, I know every game's massive, but for me, I think it's a bigger game than Dundalk. And going back to the point you'd made earlier, because the Dundalk game's a bit of a free hit in many ways.
Yeah, but I think whereas this game, I think it's maybe Robert Love made the point there at the start, where Harps are going to grounds now, and they're not going to fear anybody from the results that they've got over the next week. Hopefully, that I'm sure won't breed any complacency with what they've done, because I think they know what's going to get them results, and that's going to be hard to play against. But I think they know now that they have the players and they have every area covered. I can't see many weaknesses, if any, in there. I think only when maybe they go to a place where they might, if they have the ball and they're going to sit back and I'd say their home games. Their home games is probably where Harps might struggle the most this year, because I think where they're going to have more of the ball. I think when that pitch improves, and it does improve during the summer, and teams that are playing good football, can as I say, it definitely improves during the summer. That's without a doubt. And I think if they're going to go and try and go and press teams, and I think just it's going to be different for them. I think they'll do better maybe away from home this year a lot of the time.
All right. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's just from the way that they seem to set up and for what they've done with the players that they have. They do have good players. They have really good players. But I think that's one where the style of football has to start to change now, because you have good players. You have good players there. You have players that can play. There's no.
So you're saying, so I'm on the same page, you're saying at home, Harps will have that little bit more impetus where they'll take the game to other teams, but that might be dangerous, is what you're saying, because that might play into the hands of opposition teams, whereas before Harps were sort of generic term here, but parking the bus. That's a good point.
Not to put it so bluntly, but I think the more they have the ball, the more they might be a bit more lured into trying to play too much and then get caught. That's kind of one of the point I'm trying to make there.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on. It's interesting. Look, I think it'll tell a big, it's going to tell us a lot the next couple of games, and we'll be able to maybe make a better assessment of
Yeah,
Harps, their style of play, their squad, and
it's
whatnot.
still
I'm
early
laughing here.
days.
Len
It's still early
Hallbrook
days.
here,
It's still early days for a lot of clubs, Chief, and
100%.
they're still settling down. Little do we think we'll be sitting top of the league with 6 points after 2 games that we've had.
No,
I don't think
exactly.
anybody would have. Longford sitting
No,
second. It's still very early days. I think when things settle down, you'll see massive changes. Like with the way
100%.
that the league's going to turn out.
Absolutely.
Even interesting enough, like St. Pat's, have looked probably one that I would have said would be the dark horses there. But when you think of the players that they have brought in, the Mountaineers, like obviously Stephen O'Donnell, taking over. Like
Serious quality that squad, like
bringing in experience, like bringing in Coughlin as well from Sligo, shrewd operator, never really looks like he's going to get at you and kill you, but like always in the right place, always nicking goals, winning penalties, something like that there. So I think the signings that they made, getting Benson in as well from Dundalk, really good player. I'll see Chris Forrest there. A really good side. And I think they could be one to watch. Like.
You're right, Chief. It's going to take a while for the things to settle down and that, and I do think like a draw is a massively tough game for Harps again. I think any result up there is a good result, and it'll be interesting, as I say. Next 2 games are going to be very interesting. It'll give us a better, I think, idea, and we'll be able to assess Harps better. Sean Wizzy McGowan, top man. He's agreeing with McGarvey. Thinks he's an ideal man for the second choice, and. He reckons update the passport, Harps are for Europe. I'm laughing at Len Hallbrook here. He's obviously asking about James Doherty and Gary Worski. He's not offering anything constructive, so I'm not gonna take any time for Len there. We'll get him blocked here. Gary Funston, if Harps are in and around Europe come summer break, the big boys will come in with 18-month contracts, and then the importance of the squad will come into effect. I think that's a very good point as well. Yeah. So lots of good comments coming in here.
Do you think people are just thinking about some of the players that Harps have brought in, the likes of we spoke about Webby there, how good a lad he was, Siddiqui, bringing him in, and then a couple of lads in. Do you think they see this Harps as a springboard this year to get back to one of the top clubs closer to where they're from, or do you think that they're they're thinking now this is the project at Harps? If Harps keep going well, I'm going to want to stay around.
That's a great question, Chief. To be honest, I would say that they're using Harps as a springboard. Like, in my opinion, I think it's not that they're not buying into the project and they don't love playing under Ollie, but I do think they're probably they're playing Premier Division football, but I do think if the lure of a full-time setup comes and a top club that can potentially, I'm not saying ruling out that Harps can't get into Europe, but yourself, the infrastructure of a Shamrock Rovers or even a Dundalk who are going through a period of transition, I definitely think it is, especially like Siddiqui now that are come there. Are they going to, as much as we love Donegal, it's a beautiful county, are they going to set up camp there for a long time? Probably not. It's probably more attractive to be in Dublin. There's more things happening and different things, and that's always been a challenge for Harps in terms of when they do attract. I think years ago Nesevic and stuff, and then he went to Bohemians and that. So they've always had that's a difficulty when you attract a top player and he does really well. Other League Ireland clubs are going to come in and take you, and then they can maybe offer more in terms of money and more security. So I definitely think, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to say, they're all in, they're Harps, man, and they're staying for years. I do think we need to be realistic as well. And like Gary says, you potentially could lose players, and that goes back to the point where you need a bigger squad. Like so, no, but good question, Chief. Good question. But we'll see. Anyway, lad, we'll probably wrap things up here now. Is there any other comments that's come on there that you want to take, or we'll maybe finish off on, or whatever?
Apart from Len hammering you here again, Chief, non-destructive.
Just ignore Len. Len Hallbrook, what a name as well. Like Len Hallbrook, disgrace. Robert Love. Anyone take one over there? I think Charlie's on about the Irish. Charlie McGarvey's late to the party here. I think he's on about the Irish setup again. So I don't know if we want to wrap up on that. But
Colin McDonald said here, Keith, how would this team compare to Charlie McGeever's squad back in '99? Sammy Johnson, Declan Boy, Stuart Gall, Pascal Vodkin, Mulligan Speak, a lot more Davy Dowd and Johnny Kenny. She's Colin, I don't know what age you think I am. That's the thing back 15 years, 14 years.
14, were you, Count?
Right, 14. I was definitely going to the games, but I think it was more interesting in the bag of chips. To be quite honest with it. Look, I do totally go back to those times and think of the great memories of watching speaking and James Morgan scored, and the class. And we talk about bad pitches, Chief. How those lads managed to play there.
Want their football back then too, like.
I know, but no, good times back then. But to give a proper assessment on that, I think I might have to speak to my dad and see what he's got for me. One person we do have to mention, Chief, and we spoke about a few of the ladies that are doing really well, is Kate Tolan there, who is called up the Northern Ireland squad. She plays her football with Science Swifts and they're in the ladies Northern Ireland League. So congratulations to her from St Johnson, her sister Tyler.
Yeah, fantastic. So there's some footballing ability in that family. So good luck to Kate as well. Obviously, her sister Tyler's on loan at Glasgow, isn't she? She's at Glasgow City from Manchester City. So
same with them. So best luck to her.
Yeah. Best of luck to her, and look, we'll try our best to resolve the Republic of Ireland situation. we're all on a different page, but sure, here, this is what we're here. I want to hear everyone's opinions on it and chat about it, and it's good to vent it on this and have a.
I don't anybody be thinking. I think I need to be careful as well. Don't anybody be thinking that me and Chief thinking that we're now that we know everything about international football, and I just want to take it up a notch. We haven't played international football, so
I played international football at university level, so I don't know if that qualifies me or not. Like, but
I know who your coach was. I know who your coach was as well. So we'll just call
it. Be careful, hey. He's on the books. No, you're live. You're live. Hey, you're stitching him up, hey. You're stitching them up. Maybe the boys will be doing some quiz work now. Who's counting on about? But look here, as we said, Ireland. The Ireland job is one that polarizes opinion. It's going to continue to. All I'll say in the matter is I hope things turn for Stephen Kenny. I think his heart's in the right place. He really, really wants to change Ireland's style. I think it needs to be. You need to give him credit for. You need to give him credit for at least trying to do something different as well. And we'll see if it works out. It's not going too well at the minute, but never know. Football's a funny old game, as they say, isn't it, Ken?
Yeah, that's it. So again, just best of luck to Harps at the weekend, and anybody who's in the local area that's representing any of the teams. Obviously, George Kelly as well got off the mark last week, so good to see that there. So best luck to those lads, and we'll touch base with you next week. Thanks for joining. All the comments again have been great. We have our podcast again. Everything's up on YouTube. Get on that YouTube channel, folks. Hit that subscribe button. Get those numbers creeping up. And again, we can add. I think you've seen that we've added a bit more quality. Our man Bosch again, brilliant this week. Been able to keep us up to date with everything. So again, keep liking those podcasts. Keep subscribing. Get on that page. It's very simple. It doesn't cost a thing. And again, it will increase what we're doing here. It'll add to what we're doing. So and again, thanks for all the support so far. All right, Chief.
100%. That's perfect. Hey, thanks a million. Thanks for all the comments and stuff.
All right, Chief, good luck.
Cheers.